We've talked a lot this offseason about the individual components of the Bucs roster. What about as a whole? How are they going to be able to put that together? Let's talk about that and more coming up on The Boat Parade.
You know you can look me in the eye. It's all because of Jesus. He the reason I'm alive. I live by faith, by grace. You know that I ain't gotta strive. They told me tone it down.
Yo, 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 yo.
My name is Jared. His name is Ryan, and we are The Boat Parade. Ryan, today, as the time of recording this, is the first day of Bucs training camp.
That's right.
So we've done a lot of different videos about different people on the roster for the Bucs. Shout out Creamsicles. They're still the
Creamies.
best throwback uniforms in the
Man,
NFL.
they should wear them this year.
Bro, they're complaining about the supply chain and things like that, but all these other teams are coming out with them.
These cool uniforms.
Not to get too off track, but I did see a thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. They can't wear their Kelly greens because that color, Adidas owns it, so Nike would have to go and create a new color for them to be able to wear that. That's why they're doing the whole black
And Nike
things.
was like, nah. It's like, we ain't doing all that.
I don't get it, but today we're talking about how the Bucs are going to be able to bring it together as a team because, in my opinion, football is the ultimate team sport. It's 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, all doing their own individual jobs.
That's 22 guys.
That's great math. All doing their own individual jobs and executing them. And if everybody does their job right, then you have a successful play. And then you do that like 90 times a game, and then you win. That's how football is.
Something that I've heard you say is that it's about you have 11 on 11, and each person has to beat their man. And you, as you're playing as a team, if your man beats you, your man can beat the play. And so for the play to work, everybody has to beat their man. And so, which obviously you have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, or not. Here's like the philosophy that they would teach us at UCF, and they would refer to it as one-on-one or big-on-big. If you have 10 of those 11 matchups, if you tie, that's okay. Then one person has to win. Then you have to have one person execute and dominate their one-on-one matchup, then you can have a successful play. But if just that one person messes up, then the opposite can happen. So the more people that are winning that one-on-one instead of tying that one-on-one, the better chances that you have. And then as one of the 11, you have to trust that the other 10 people are doing their job and executing it
Right.
every single play. That's why it's the ultimate team sport. You're doing your job and then trusting your brother to also do his job every play, the entire game.
I love that you said brother, because when you were describing it right before we started recording, he was sharing a little bit of that philosophy along those lines, and it reminded me of like talking about like the military. It's like talking about like guys go to Afghanistan. You're like, we had like 12 people in our squadron, and each brother had to depend on the other, and if one guy slipped up, it could cost the team, and it's cool that same mentality is there.
It's really how it is. No team. Well, in the NFL, every team is made up of completely phenomenal athletes that are all were star players at their college. But then on the NFL level, if you just have one or two star players, that's not the ingredients to have a winning team. You have to come together and bond and have that level of brotherhood, like you're saying, to be able to go out there and execute for each other. Because it's not just about having the talent. It's about coming together and being able to put it together. It's like all the ingredients to a cake.
Oh, well, I want to ask you a question.
And then being able to have a successful cake.
Do you think that the Bucs are going to be able to do that under our current new head coach?
And that's really what this is about. Todd Bowles,
Todd's awesome.
He's been a head coach before in the NFL, but now first season with the Bucs. There's still Bruce Arians is still in the building. Matter of fact, today at training camp, Bruce was out there in his golf cart with his straw hat behind the quarterback, still
retirement.
So he's still like a part of it, but it's Todd Bowles, but he's more defensive minded. And then you still have Byron Leftwich being the offensive coordinator that's really running the offense, which is really unique because, we're taught growing up in sports, specifically in football, that defense wins championships. You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But in the modern era, particularly with this roster that the Bucs have put together, sometimes the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah, that's right.
Because with all the weapons that they have, it's going to be pretty crazy to how do you even stop this? So if we can just be excellent at offense, Todd Bowles can really just focus on, hey, what do we need to do? And that's something that last year Todd Bowles would kind of go to Byron Leftwich and say, hey, how many points do we need to give up for us to win, basically? What do we need to give up, 17 or fewer? Do we need to give up 21 or fewer? And that's their goal that they would go for. And they work together really well that way. I think that's the pluses of having a defensive-minded head coach, that you can kind of focus on that and maybe not have the greatest athletes out there on the field, which the Bucs have phenomenal athletes, but being able to put together with what you have, then rely on the offense to be able to make up for what you don't have.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, now I feel like every sport's moving that way. But offense is the defense wins championships mentality, I think, is starting to kind of disintegrate across sports as a whole, because in
like the Yankees, they're just
I was going to say, like, teams like the Yankees, like, it's great that the Rays are a good example of a great defensive team in baseball, but you don't win championships that way. You win championships by hitting the ball 600 feet, and hitting some fan in the head and then jogging around the bases. That's how you win. So it's the same in football. And now with quarterbacks and receivers being so good and having such good relationships and being able to work together well, and obviously these guys that Tom's throwing the ball to are already legendary.
We are going to do a whole separate video about the Julio Jones and the wide receivers, but when Julio Jones is your third best wide receiver on the team,
you're doing all right.
How do you game plan against that? You can't. So, like, I think they're going to be able to figure out on offense. Let's talk about some of the potential holes on defense that the Bucs need to come together and fill in order to have that successful defense to bring home another ring to Tampa Bay. First, starting out, Jason Pierre-Paul. He's still a free agent. So, as of this moment, I think today on the first day at camp, I think Joe Tyron ran with the ones in that Jason Pierre-Paul position. Are they going to sign somebody else before camp is over? Are they going to roll with that? He did have I think potentially he may have had like 1.5 sacks last year, while Jason Pierre-Paul, I think he only had like 2.5. So what are they going to do with that? Leave it up to Joe as the complement to the other side of Shaq Barrett, or Sack Barrett on the other side of the outside linebacker position. We'll see what goes on. In the secondary, we have a couple of new guys. Logan Ryan coming in from New York.
Dude's amazing.
Giants. A guy from Texas that you might be familiar with, Keanu Neal. He played for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, how are they going to mesh together with the secondary? Because at the professional level, secondary calls and schemes become totally different. You can run one kind of scheme and coverage on the backside and another on the front side. You can roll. You're doing spies. All these things that if you just know Madden defense of cover 3, or you know high school or college, as some people know, that's cover 2. But
you learn the game. I mean, playing the games on the Xboxes and stuff helps people learn the sport, because unless you experience playing it like you did, your only other hope is to play the video game.
That's true.
Because it's fast. Watching the game, it's hard. Unless you pause, stop, and start. If you're watching an NFL game or college, it's hard to actually get a scan of the field and where people are and if they're in deep or if they're in cover 3 or whatever there. It's hard to get.
And a lot of times you're disguising the coverage. And like I said,
exactly.
The coverages from Madden are really like a high school level defense of what coverages are.
Which is wild.
In college, it gets more complicated. In the NFL, now you're disguising a coverage, but then really on the front side of the field side and the boundary side are running 2 different schemes, and then they roll and they're both disguising, and one's running a cloud 9 and they're running a man cover 3 in the flat. And so you have no idea what's going on.
Bro, stop speaking in tongues. Didn't nobody understand what you just said? Cover 3 flat. Who?
Some people know what I said.
No, I know. For the 4 subscribers that understood what he said, drop a comment and say, I'm a football scholar, so then being able to, better.
You really are reading each other's mind out there and understanding, hey, what is Sean Murphy Bunting going to do? And then Jamel Dean, and they're reading each other's minds of what's going on. How are the new guys going to fit into that? And then lastly, you have some of these new guys on the defensive line. Are some of these more veteran guys like Vita Vea, Will Golston, Akeem Hicks, are they going to be able to teach the new guys really how to come in? And you're playing against a grown men offensive lineman on one side of the ball.
Yeah.
And then now you're fresh out of college, 22, 23. That's a big deal. Are they going to be able to come out? Those are really the key areas that I think that they need to fill those holes in and be able to replace that in order to be successful and bring another ring to Tampa Bay. So we can have another boat parade.
Sheesh! I agree with you. Akeem Hicks is a big. When we did our Meet the Boys for Akeem Hicks, it's a big deal being able to bring vet guys in. And my number one reason for appreciating Akeem coming, besides that he was so loved and appreciated,
Chicago loved
in
him.
Chicago before coming here. And it's funny because I saw Chicago fans like crying emoji faces on the thing of him leaving and stuff. So that's always good to see. But the dude's been playing football a long time, and even if you look at him, he looks like dad. Like he looks like he's like
He does.
Even I think in his signing, he had his little kid like sitting on his lap and whatever. So the dude is Papa Bear. He's got this. Got this thing.
Shout out to whoever like cleans that table for the Bucs. That joint is shiny.
Whose signing picture was that? Where it was like total reflection. I mean, it was like you didn't know which was the table and which was the real thing. It's just like you barely even know.
It looked like water.
But anyway, we believe the Bucs have a shot at another boat parade, winning the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, pads practice will start August 1st, and so we're excited for that. And we'll keep you guys updated on more Bucs content. Let us know if there's anything you want to know about before the preseason starts, so we can make videos about. And then
a lot of Bucs content.
A lot of Bucs content. Going for it.
We'll see you guys next time on the boat parade.
He has such a great voice. Wow.
You know you can look me in the eye. It's all because of Jesus. He the reason I'm alive. I live by faith, by grace. You know that I ain't gotta strive. They told me, Tony.